Xiamen. Xiamen is my home.
Love to teach yoga and I love Xiamen.
I love Amoy.
In this first episode of our three-part series in Xiamen, we dig into its mesmerizing past. With me, Dr. Bill Brown, who's lived here 30 years. Join us in this cosmopolitan city for an impressive, immersive journey back in time, from old universities and markets to the unforgettable Gulangyu Island.
Well, it looks like we're on the very top of Xiamen, which is one of the greatest gateways to China's south. And in ancient times, it was the starting point of the maritime Silk Road.
Which also made it a very open-minded city with such a long history of trade and collaboration with the West.
It's known for its natural harbour and also for its colonial architecture and for its Hokkien culture.
It's currently also a thriving hub for creativity and the arts.
Oh, and also boasts the island of Gulangyu, which was, once upon a time, the richest square mile on the entire planet.
But also as one of China's earliest special economic zones, this place is a modern economic powerhouse.
So that's why we're here, right? We can explore what Xiamen has to offer.
Yep.
So,
I'm Taran.
I'm Zui.
Welcome to Xiamen.
Not a bad view from up there, hey? We're on the Twin Towers of Xiamen, where anyone can go to take in a thrilling panorama of the entire city. Provided you wear safety gear, of course. Without it, I would have accidentally pushed Tianwan off so you won't see him again. But too bad he's in the next Travelogue episode, which will still be here in this roaring metropolis. Today, Xiamen is one of the most livable cities in China. It's actually an island, linked to Fujian province and adjoining the Taiwan Strait, population 3.5 million. Many Xiamenites speak a dialect of Hokkien, which is where Xiamen's former name Amoy comes from. Amoy was once part of Zayton, arguably the grandest trading port in the Middle Ages, and at one point it's believed to have been the centre of China's titanic tea business. Indeed, Marco Polo described it as, quote, one of the greatest havens in the world for commerce. Amoy is said to have been the Chinese city most open to foreigners, and centuries later, Xiamen is more international than ever. It's a clean, green coastal city that's won multiple accolades, including a UN Habitat Award. And apparently, it's home to China's happiest people.
Xiamen is so rich in history and it's also so full of stories. And in this episode, we're lucky enough to be able to explore the tales of old Xiamen with a Dr. Bill Brown. Now, he's been living in Xiamen for 30 years, which means he's pretty much a local. And he's basically an expert in all things Xiamen. He's also got one of these, and he was the first permanent resident of Fujian province. They're not easy to come by. Exciting, huh?
So, these seashells, they're from all over the world, but this sand is from Xiamen and this sand is from Hawaii. These are my two favorite places. And the shells are from Xiamen, Hawaii, all over China and Asia.
So this is Dr. Bill, who went from serving in the US Air Force to being quite the Xiamen celebrity. He's written books, appeared on TV, and even dabbled in acting.
My wife, two boys, and I came to Xiamen in 1988. We were going to stay just 1 or 2 years. We're still here almost 30 years later. Now I'm a Shada professor and the academic director of the One MBA program. And the reason we stayed is because we fell in love not only with this beautiful island, this beautiful campus, but the beautiful people. We love Xiamen, we love the people. This is our home. I love Amoy.
By Xiada, he means Xiamen University. Founded in 1921 by a businessman Tan Ka-ki, today it's one of China's highest rated universities, and it's where Dr. Bill happily spends most of his time.
Whoa, this place is just gigantic.
I know, isn't it amazing?
Yep.
And, you know, Kipling said East and West will never meet, but they met here because Tankaki in 1921, when he built the university, he built the architecture, combination of East and West. It's a Chinese roof, but then it's the Western bottom, because he said that symbolized modern international education while still embracing traditional Chinese heights, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And this is built in the 50s, was the largest university auditorium in all of China.
Whoa.
I think it might still be. Tankaki, when he built it on the hillside because he said it is like a tiger on the hillside facing the sea. And this used to be 1,000 years ago. It was the start of the Maritime Silk Road. So he thought, you know, the ships coming in from the ocean, everybody coming in can see Xiamen University's tiger on the hill. Pretty symbolic.
Yep, and they'd be quivering in fear from the tiger, right?
To me, the powerful, beautiful structure is the bricks and mortar epitome of Xiamen. It's a powerful, beautiful place I find I'm instantaneously drawn to. I suppose that born and raised a Sydney-sider, seaside spaces tend to have a magnetic attraction for us. The air is different here, as is the tempo of life, and with everything Xiamen has to offer, I can see why Dr. Bill stayed. It's a super sticky, sweltering summer afternoon in subtropical Xiamen, but Dr. Bill insists on taking a stroll together through the university, even though he's done it at least 1,000 times. He's very proud to show off this lasting product of Chinese philanthropy.
This is just stunning. I really can't believe that this is a university campus.
I know. Well, you know, I live in a garden island, and I teach and live in a gardening university. Many people say Xiamen University is the most beautiful in China, and I believe it's true.
I can see why, yeah.
Dr. Bill tells me that the Xiamen-born founder, Mr. Tan, known as the Henry Ford of Asia, gave like a prince and lived like a pauper. The humble man donated an estimated $100 million to education, and his legend lives on in scenic, state-of-the-art Xiada.
And every weekend, my wife, my 2 little boys from Xiamen University climb the mountain to this park. And our little bit of paradise. It's not too far. It's about a 45-minute walk, and they were very small. And it's very famous because hundreds of years ago, the Xiamen people would come here and hide out and write calligraphy and poems and that kind of thing. So it's our little bit of heaven.
Yeah, and now they take wedding photos.
Wedding photos, yeah. And we come here and have tea. They have a lot of temples and a nunnery, which the Nanputuo monks probably like. And so
a little bit of shade for us.
Yeah, a little bit of shade.
We're being spoilt here. Lovely botanical gardens adjacent to Xiada, and nearly across the road from the university gates, a famous Buddhist monastery. Only thing is, it holds morning prayers at the unholy hour of 5 a.m. Nanputuo Temple was founded during the Tang Dynasty over 1,000 years ago. In 1925, the prestigious Minnan Buddhist College was established here. Many of its 200-plus resident monks will go on to become abbots or teachers elsewhere. Today, Nanputuo is the premier Buddhist site of worship and exchange in Xiamen. The name Nanputuo translates as Putuo of the South. Mount Putuo in Zhejiang province is one of the 4 sacred mountains of Chinese Buddhism, considered the place of awakening of Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. Dr. Bill's enthusiasm to have me truly experience the best of Xiamen is admirable. To be honest, I don't remember the last time I witnessed daybreak. But we're not the only ones up at this time.
That's a devout cat.
Nanputuo is a famous pilgrimage site for Buddhists from all across China and Southeast Asia. But unlike most Chinese temples, there's a noticeable absence of smoke and smell. It's an incenseless site. There are also no rubbish bins inside the compound. It's part of a minimizing waste scheme. Interesting, hey? Well, that's Xiamen for you, an old soul with a new psyche. Then it's time to hit the heart of town. This is Zhongshan Road, which once was, and still is, the throbbing aorta of Xiamen. You could say it's the city's equivalent of New York's Fifth Avenue. It's a picturesque pedestrian corridor dedicated to shopping and eating, peppered with some good old gems.
Peanut soup shop.
Yeah, this is a local favorite.
Yeah? Try the time on the ground.
Are you up for a breakfast?
Of course I am.
Try it.
Huangzehe is a decades-old canteen, crammed with casual southern Chinese and Hokkien cuisine, another area of Dr. Bill's Xiamen expertise. Having been up so early on an almost empty stomach, I'm stoked to have some local eats on my tray.
So this is one of the most popular spots, but they're most famous for the peanut soup. The guy invented it in 1945, became state-owned in 1956, and this is eggs and oysters, local, especially one of my favorites. You can try it. If you survive, I'll try it too.
All right, I'll be your guinea pig then.
Yeah. It's okay?
That's pretty good. Oh, yum.
Wow. It's just what my mom never made.
This slice of town is dominated by qilou buildings, arcade structures that are a distinctive architectural feature of early 1900s southern China. Bellies full, we take to the streets again, while the locals just do their thing. Xiamen may be a contemporary city, but it hasn't lost its somewhat crude, old-fashioned charisma.
I just love wandering through these little old alleyways. It's my favourite thing to do about when travelling is just to, you know, watch the people go about their everyday lives.
Yeah, but this isn't a little alleyway. In old Xiamen, this is considered a wide thoroughfare.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the missionaries said some of them were umbrella lanes because they couldn't open an umbrella. Very
This
narrow.
sign fits an entire hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon? Never mind. Maybe the word hot was in my head because it's such a blistering day. Thankfully, there's always shade under the charming qilou. Not that it helps much with this level of humidity. But no one else seems bothered by it, so I try not to be either. Secret tip, unless you're a Xiamenite, avoid summer here.
This part of town is pretty old, but there's a lot of character to it. It's bustling.
Yeah, but this commercialization began right here. This is the heart of the city,
Oh,
the
yeah?
old city. Yeah.
And how best to get an immersive experience of it all? We plunge right into the busiest traditional bazaar in Xiamen, number 8 Market, where you can buy almost anything you'll ever need. And because of its proximity to the ocean, it's renowned for its ultra-fresh seafood. In this one colourful, cacophonous strip, there are more than 100 seafood vendors. It's bittersweet too. Even though the market is advanced in its years now, it hasn't changed all that much, making it a little nostalgic for the locals, Dr. Bill included.
When we came in '88, this is the only place we could buy meat, fruit, this kind of thing. This is like the predecessor of the modern supermarkets.
Well, this is called the number 8 Market. So
Number 8
I
market.
believe there were 7 other.
Well, there were. Now there's not many left, but I don't know. But look at the fruit. I mean, I wish in America we had this kind of variety.
What?
Purple bananas. And
Yeah. What is this?
I don't know. I think it's a mutated
It
pineapple.
looks like a
don't know.
definitely a monstrosity.
Well, yeah. You want one? Try it.
Isn't it? Yeah, sure.
Okay. Cảm ơn. Okay.
That's thank you in Hokkien, FYI.
This is one of the Xiamen people's favorite delicacies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is sea worm in sort of a jelly. I used to think it was jellyfish, but it's not. They boil the sea worm and it makes a jelly.
God.
They eat it with sesame and wasabi.
Oh, yeah?
Well, no, wasabi and hot sauce.
Should we get some?
这个多少钱？
Round it up.
Round it up. 换两个, yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's not really my favorite, but you haven't finished.
Okay, so that's 2 in 1.
Is that 2 in 1?
I don't know how to describe this. It kind of looks like fossilized. Oh, they're kind of stuck together, so... Oh, look at this.
Yum. 怎么样? Is it all you...
Yeah, it's actually not bad.
It's not something I eat daily, but once in a while.
It's actually... Well, it's better for you than cigarette butts.
Yeah, that's true.
for sure.
And it kind of grows on you. It probably grows in you, too.
It's like this kind of salty, garlicky jelly with a bit of sea taste to it.
Yeah, interesting taste.
Speaking of sea, we're going to leave Xiamen proper and cross a narrow stretch of it after the break, so stay tuned. Coming up next on Travelogue, the fabulously fascinating Gulangyu Island, which at one point in time was the richest square mile in the world.
I miss Xiamen. Xiamen is my home.
Love to teach yoga and I love Xiamen.
I love Amoy.
Gulangyu Island. A mere 700 metres from downtown Xiamen, 6 or 7 minutes on the ferry. It covers just 1.78 square kilometres in area. It attracts more than 10 million sightseers a year. Gulangyu literally means drum wave island. Legend has it that the spine-chilling sound of drum beats could be heard on the uninhabited island, later explained by tides and geology. But the name stuck throughout the years as the island bloomed and boomed. And as of July 8, 2017, Gulangyu is a UNESCO-listed World Heritage Site. There are no cars here, not even bikes, only a small fleet of electric buggies for the lazy or less able. The thing is, if you haven't stepped foot on Gulangyu and gawked at its extraordinary panoply of architecture, where east marries west, you haven't been to Xiamen. I have to admit, Gulangyu is one of the most intriguing treasures of China I've ever come across. It seems to pulsate with a sort of enigmatic elegance that leaves me wondering, have I been ensnared in a daydream? Nope, I'm traveloguing with my very own personal Xiamen guide, Dr. Bill, and what I'm seeing is real. The more I stroll around, the more schizophrenic the place becomes. A bizarre potpourri of elitist ostentation combined with kitsch, and yet it smells like ultimate sophistication. And then there are the locals who simply call this weird wonderland home. But why is it so? Well, this is where it's great to have Dr. Bill around. He tells me the island became a foreign enclave in 1842, and 60 years later it was designated as an international settlement. 13 countries, including the UK, France and Japan, enjoyed extraterritorial privileges here, and they set up consulates, churches, hospitals, schools and police stations. It was also a sanctuary for the very wealthy Chinese, who built many of the 1,000 mansions on the island. Sino-European trade gathered momentum, and Gulangyu reached its zenith in the early 1900s, when it was dubbed the most prosperous square mile on Earth. But even though its glory days have since dissolved, we are left with cultural vestiges and majestic architectural relics of colonial yesteryear. Here, you can push open any door, and you'll be sure to unearth a piece of history. It's like an open-air museum where Oriental meets Occidental. To cater for the throngs of tourists turning up, many of the magnificent manor houses have been transformed into comfy bed and breakfasts or cosy cafes. Others are just perfect to gawk at for the design.
Gosh, there are just so many diverse elements to this building, hey?
I know, it's amazing. You look, just on this one side, you can see 4 different kinds of windows. Put everything they like, different windows, different columns, all in one building. And the architects finally just called it Amoy Deco style.
Amoy Deco.
Amoy Deco, yeah.
Unlike the Art Deco movement, which was popular in the 1920s and 30s.
Yeah, Art
right?
Deco is 20s and 30s, and so is
This was built in the 1920s.
20s and 30s, yeah.
Right. So it's like the Amoy version of Art Deco.
Amoy version of Art Deco. Very unique.
One of the places where Amoy Deco really slaps you in the face is the 1921 Haitian Tango Villa Complex. The striking fusion of styles in the biggest of the 5 villas is, to me, somewhere between wow and how. Seriously, how does someone even come up with something like that? But I love it. The entry to the compound also includes a short performance of a traditional local glove puppet show. Come on. Who doesn't enjoy a bit of light folk entertainment? Yep, there's clearly a wow and how theme going on today. Despite all the miniature acrobatics on stage, the highlight of the show for me is seeing the puppeteers work their magic in person. The lifelike maneuvers are definitely not something that can be picked up overnight. In fact, these young hand wizards started training at 7 or 8 years old. Cloth bag puppetry, or 布袋木偶戏, is a form of entertainment that originated in Fujian province during the 17th century. Making the complex puppets is an art, but making them move is something else altogether.
Okay, that's 3.
So, do you want the woman or I'll control the man?
I bet you will. Wow.
这是头，
头。
这是
Okay.
所以都是一样。然后这个。
对，
你这里重一点。
转夹住，对。
对。
因为我们转棍。
Well, Dr. Bill's utilising his chopstick skills, and I've just about mastered the fundamentals of head whacking.
Whoa.
There you go.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
谢谢。
We continue our mosey through the sprawling serpentine alleys, the labyrinth of European facades, and the vibrant kaleidoscope of shops, stumbling into a leafy pocket of shade at True Family Coffee. Like many other original homeowners on Gulangyu, the True family made the fortune in Southeast Asia and returned home to build a resplendent mansion on the island. Dr. Bill tells me it wasn't necessarily because these overseas Chinese preferred living amongst expatriates. The fact is, it was easier to safeguard their hard-earned money here in an international concession. Today, with its photogenic traits and vehicle-less streets, throw Xiamen's street food into the mix, and Gulangyu has become a top priority getaway, especially for seafood fanatics.
One thing Gulangyu is famous for is fish balls. Yeah,
In the buzzing commercial area called Dragon Head Road, which is not one road but a cluster of them, we find a snack stall serving authentic Gulangyu fish balls made from finely ground fish meat.
40s. And he sold stuff
Dr. Bill
on the side.
remembers when he first disembarked here half a lifetime ago. The chef's father hawked the specialty from a basket on his back. Now for 10 bowl, you can take away or take a seat. After a sweaty stint down at Dragon Head Road, particularly during busy season, you may find yourself losing your cultural vibe. But despair not. There are places like X Read Space where you can bask in aircon and thumb through poetry and prose as your rhythm readjusts. But it goes way beyond a typical bookstore. According to the owners, it's about redefining how we conceptualize time and space. Something about the ability to bend rules to connect with other civilizations. It sounds a bit out there to me, but then again, Gulangyu folks have always been pioneers in education, in medicine, in literature.
Yeah, he was married here.
Ah, I did see some of your books too, Bill. Your new idol.
Another thing that Gulangyu is famed far and wide for is its musical forte, having nurtured some of the country's most celebrated pianists. One of its many nicknames is the Piano Islet, as it possesses more pianos per capita than anywhere else in China. 1 in 5 households, apparently. And, Dr. Bill says, this is Asia's largest piano museum. I loved playing the piano growing up, so I spend my time ogling at the 100 plus gorgeous instruments, collected from all over the world by Australian Chinese Hu Youyi, this island being the home of his ancestors. The song being performed was composed here, and is aptly named Gulangyu. To me, the tune is achingly alluring, and somehow captures the aged yet ageless spirit of this magical island.
Xiamen, what a great place and what a great adventure back in time with Dr. Bill. Now, my mind is still blown by the affluent influence and also effervescence of Xiamen's heyday. But even though it's a place that's so steeped in history, it was always so forward-thinking and innovative as well. It's such a contrasting city, isn't it? It's got, east and west and also old meets new here. But I guess we're done with the old now. Next time, it's the new. But it's with Tianran and not me. My name's Zui. Make sure you don't miss it. You're watching Travelogue.